of Miami Gardens to bring to you another fun science experiment. Remember, before and after each science experiment, we have to wash our hands for 20 seconds with warm soap and water. Once you have washed your hands, we can get started with the experiment. For today's experiment, we will be making Moo material. For this experiment, the most important thing you will need is an adult to help you. Once you have found your adult helper, you can go ahead and find the rest of the materials that you will need. These materials include a small saucepan, a stove, a spoon to stir with, whole milk, white vinegar, a measuring spoon and a measuring cup, a strainer, a medium-sized bowl, and a small bowl with water in it. Now that we have gathered all of our materials, we can go ahead and get started with the experiment. The first step in our experiment is to have your adult helper turn on the stove to a medium heat and start warming up the saucepan. While your adult helper is warming up the saucepan, we can go ahead and measure out 1.5 cups of whole milk. Once you have measured out 1.5 cups of whole milk, pass the milk to your adult helper so that they can start warming up the milk in the saucepan. Your adult helper will keep their eye on the warmed milk and will let you know when it just starts to boil. While we wait for the milk to boil, let's talk about milk. Milk is a substance known as a colloid mixture. That means that the particles and molecules inside of milk, like proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, are evenly distributed all throughout the water, such that over time it will not settle to the bottom. An example of something that is not a colloid mixture is something like a mix of soil and water, in which if you shake up a bottle that has soil and water together, over time the soil will fall to the bottom. Milk is a colloid mixture, in which that does not happen. Now that we've learned a little bit about what kind of a substance milk is, let's continue to wait for our milk to boil. When it just starts to boil is when your adult helper can turn off the heat, keep the saucepan on, but turn the heat off. So right now, let's keep an eye on the milk and wait for it to boil. Now that our milk has reached a slight boil, have your adult helper turn off the heat, and you can start pouring in very, very carefully 2 tablespoons of white vinegar into the mix. So here I have 1 tablespoon, and I will gently pour it over the warm milk mixture. Make sure that your adult helper continues to stir the warm milk with the vinegar. Now, before I add in the 2nd tablespoon of vinegar, let's talk about vinegar. Vinegar is an acetic acid, and when we pour some of it into a colloid mixture like milk that has been warmed, it causes a chemical reaction in which the particles we were talking about before, the proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, start to separate and are no longer evenly distributed. Now, the chemical reaction from the vinegar is making all of the protein particles in the milk stick together. You'll notice that there begins to be a kind of rubbery mixture happening inside of your saucepan. So let's go ahead and add in our 2nd tablespoon of vinegar. Remember, very gently, very carefully around the milk. And have your adult helper continue to stir and try to group together all of the rubbery texture that is the protein molecules inside of the milk. Once your adult helper has stirred this for a few seconds, set down your mixing spoon and let the mixture rest. We will be letting the mixture cool before we strain it into a bowl. Now that we've waited for our mixture to cool slightly in the saucepan, we can get our strainer ready and place it on top of our medium bowl. Have your adult helper help you strain the moo material from the saucepan into the strainer so that all of the liquid excess goes inside of our empty bowl and all of the rubbery moo material is in the strainer. Once it's in the strainer, go ahead and place, you can use your mixing spoon, all of the rubbery moo material into the bowl of water. This will help you clean and rinse out some of the moo material before we get to handle it. Once it has rinsed enough in the bowl of water, go ahead and strain your moo material again. And place it back into the bowl. And there we have your moo material. Now that your moo material is rinsed and cooled down, you can go ahead and feel the texture of the moo material. All of the proteins sticking together have a rubbery-like texture. When you're done playing and molding with your moo material, make sure that you throw the solids away in the trash can and that you flush the excess liquid down the drain with lots of water. And remember, after each science experiment, wash your hands thoroughly for 20 seconds with warm soap and water. Thank you!